I actually need you to turn to 2 Chronicles chapter 25. As I told you, as we've been studying 2 Kings, we've actually been studying Chronicles as well. And the story in 2 Chronicles gives us some more very relevant details to our third example, which is Amaziah. Amaziah is a king down in Judah. He was 25, 2 Chronicles chapter 25, and he was 25 years old when he became king. And we're just going to pull out a couple of verses here, but encourage you to read the whole chapter for yourself this afternoon. Verse 2, it says, "He did what was right in the sight of the Lord, but not with a loyal heart," or not with a whole heart. If you read the accompanying passage in 2 Kings, it says, he didn't follow the Lord like David did. Remember David? David just had a heart for God. David was a passionate man. He was the kind of guy who, whatever he was going to do, he was going to do it full force. You know, young man willing to stand up to Goliath when all of the trained army are scared. But this was not Amaziah. He was willing to do what was right. I'm going to follow what was right. And it gives us an example. It happened as soon as the kingdom was established for him, that he executed his servants who had murdered his father, the king. He became king because his group of people murdered his father. And now he goes and he executes them. But notice it says, however, he did not execute their children, which was typical, and we've seen a lot of that in the last kings. Did not execute his children, but did as it is written in the law of the book of Moses, where the Lord commanded, saying, the fathers shall not be put to death for their children, nor shall the children be put to death for their fathers, but a person shall die for his own sin. So he did what was right in the sight of the Lord, but he was just doing it. He wasn't doing it from the heart. He was doing it from the outside. He didn't have a loyal heart. Now, in verse 5 through 16, what we find is that he goes and he fights against Edom. Edom, that's the small nation, basically the descendants of Esau. And he gains victory over this small little kingdom. But here's what he does wrong. It says that he overcame them. And verse 14, after Amaziah came from the slaughter of the Edomites, that he brought the gods of the people of Seir, set them up to be his gods, and bowed down before them, and burned incense to them. I titled this one, False Success Leads to Stupidity. Here he is given power by the Lord to overcome his enemy. And what does he do? He gets all puffed up about how cool he is, and how tough he is, and how he can figure stuff out. So he'll take the spoils, and just like the rest of the world would do, you take the gods of the people that you overran, and you take them home with you, and you set them up, or maybe you melt them down if you just want the gold, but you set them up, and you prove that you are mightier than those other people, and you beat their gods. So now, but he brings it home, and he starts worshiping this god. Now, before this, he had hired, when he was putting his army together, he had hired 100,000 mercenaries from Samaria and brought them down. And a prophet of the Lord came to him and said, hey, don't do that. The Lord is not with these Samaritans. No, send them home. He goes, well, what should I do? I already paid him. And the prophet said, hey, the Lord's got a lot more money than that. Don't worry about it. And so he lets them keep the pay and sends them back up to Samaria. So he listened to what this prophet said. But now he comes home, sets up these gods, and this prophet comes to him and says, what in the world are you doing? What do you think you're doing? God just gave you the victory, and now you're going to worship some other god? Are you stupid or what? That's in the original Hebrew. They didn't. But, and what does he say now? He says, hey, if you want to live, shut up. It's basically what he said to the prophet. The prophet said, well, I'll be quiet, but you just sealed your own fate. You see, he got so full of success, and then there's more.